Hi, hi everyone. My name is Michael Ama, and I'm presenting the disease anthrax. Before I start talking about anthrax, I think you all are very familiar with anthrax because my friend Steven already talked about anthrax when we were talking about diseases that affect the skin. But in this chapter, we are talking about disease that affects the cardiovascular and lymphatic system. So my focus for this anthrax is to talk about the kind of anthrax that actually affects the cardiovascular and lymphatic system. Unlike cutaneous anthrax that affect the skin, this form of anthrax is the one that multiplies in large numbers in the blood. And because septicemic anthrax is a possible outcome of all forms of anthrax, we have to take very very precaution of this form of anthrax. So before I start, I would like to give a short background of anthrax. The causative, the etiology for anthrax was is Bacillus anthracis and was shown to be the etiological agent by Robert Couch and Louis Pasteur at the end of the 19th century. And their discovery actually helped shape the study of microbiology, as it was the first link between plasmids and major virulence factors of Bacillus anthracis. And this was not discovered until the 1980s. And also the three toxin components are organized in two AB type toxins, and the bacilli are covered by an antiphagocytic polyglutamic capsule. The etiology, according according to the test, the causative agent for this form of anthrax is Bacillus anthracis. This is a gram-positive endospore forming rod that is among the largest of all bacterial pathogens. Bacillus anthrax lives primarily in the soil, and spores continuously dispersed by means of dust into water and onto the bodies of plants and animals. So if you look at the picture on your right, you see the gram-positive rods here. You see the color purple, so that it should tell is a gram positive. And on the right, we have a picture depiction on how this when we inhale, when we inhale anthrax, the anthrax spores are inhaled. It goes straight to the lungs and through the lungs to the alveoli sacs. Through the alveoli sacs, it leaks to the limbs where toxins are produced, and actually further leads to the bloodstream. The virulence factor. So the virulence factor for anthrax. The virulence factor for anthrax in this chapter we'll be talking about is the main of virulence for Bacillus anthracis are its polypeptide capsule and what is referred to as a tripeptide toxin. That's an exotoxin complex composed of three separate proteins. So these proteins are divided into three, which is the edema factor. That is an enzyme that acts as an adenyl an enzyme that acts as an adenyl cyclase, interfering with cellular metabolism by causing the production of high levels of cyclic AMP. And we have the protective antigen. The protective antigen, on the other hand, is so named because it's a good target for vaccination, not because it protects the bacterium or the host directly. It helps the edema factor to get its target site. And the third one is the lethal factor, which uses enzymatic action to inhibit important cellular processes. The end result of lethal factor action is massive inflammation and initiation of shock transmission. So Bacillus anthracis, the Bacillus anthracis is actually transferred. is a vehicle that drives the mode of transmission is through the soil and air. The anthrax bacillus is a facultative parasite that undergoes its cycle of vegetative growth and sporulation in the soil. Animals become infected while grazing on grass contaminated with spores. Humans get infected from the indirect transmission from the soil. The animals and animals also can get it through food, as we saw it in the previous in this diagram over here, where you inhale it. The anthrax spores goes through the lungs, goes through the lungs, through the alveoli to the limbs, and finally produces gets into the produces the toxins, and which goes into the bloodstream and causes septicemia. So signs and symptoms. Signs and symptoms of anthrax is dependent upon which part of the body it's affected. Septicemic anthrax results in headache, fever, and malaise. Bleeding in the intestine and a form of mucous membranes or orifices may occur in late stages of septicemia. Prevention. Prevention and treatment. According to the text, Cohen describes says there's a vaccine containing live spores and a toxoid prepared from a special strain of Bacillus anthracis are used to protect livestock in areas of the world where anthrax is endemic. Humans, on the other hand, should be vaccinated with a purified toxoid if they work with livestock or products such as hides and bone. Animals that die from the infection should be burnt or chemically decomposed before barrier to prevent establishing the microbe in the soil, which could lead to which can lead to further contamination or further infection by other animals. And when it comes to treatment, there is a treatment for it. You can treat it with penicillin, deoxys, decy- dedoxycycline, or ciprofloxacin. Floxacin are recommended treatment for anthrax, but the CDC actually cyprof, prefers the doxycycline to ciprofloxacin. Okay, all right, thank you. And these are most of my references were from the book. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. What is the end? There was the end.